Hey everybody, welcome to Marriaging. I'm Ricky.
I'm Nova.
Happy 4th of July.
Woo!
Happy National Hot Dog Day.
Except there's no fireworks.
No.
Ooh, your own fireworks.
Tonight's episode is all about how to make your own fireworks.
Good or bad.
And we have special guests that are going to tell us how to do that in just about 3 seconds, 13 seconds, 10 seconds. What is it? It's like 8 seconds.
You and me, we got this. Gonna take some practice. Superpower oneness. We are marriaging. Oh, oh.
Wonder Twin Powers activate.
We are marriaging.
Hey, welcome back, everybody.
we want to introduce some of our most favorite people in the world. We started off as friends and people that went to church together and then really became chosen family. And we want to introduce you to Sonia and Paige Sturgeon.
Give it up for Sonia and Paige Sturgeon. Yeah.
Man, there's so much that we could say about you guys. Paige, you own and operate Granite Mortgage, and
and he's got 1 million loans, so please don't contact him.
or do contact
or
him.
do, yeah.
Sonia, you studied engineering, and incredibly smart. My favorite cook, one of my favorite cooks for sure. You and my sister-in-law always cooking up a storm. An incredible mom and wife and powerhouse leader. Both of you have led ministry, men's and women's, and marriage. You created Let's Be Frank. We did that together at East County Church, and it's been this amazing road with you guys. So we talk about marriaging. Marriage isn't just like we sign on a dot and then, you're married. Congratulations. Marriaging is like that act of continuously working, and we talk about creating atmospheres and activating our oneness superpower, and we see you guys as a powerful couple. And tonight we want to talk about our love languages and what yours are, Sonia, the way you receive love and how your tank is filled, and Paige, you as well.
We're in our 4th week of a part series on the love languages. But we want to interview you two because specifically we think that you have a lot to say about how you discovered each other's love language and then how that is played out, continues to be played out in your current marriage of how many years?
8. You answer that.
Almost 18 years,
yeah,
August
18
10th.
years, yep.
Ooh,
August 10th.
August
Nice.
10.
He didn't just answer it. He put the date.
Right.
Yes, of course.
Thankfully. Yeah. Good job, honey.
Thank you.
When did you discover the love languages? When did that kind of come on your radar in your marriage?
Well, when we first we only knew each other for about 7 months before we were married.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got married, Paige was really busy at work. So I would be at home and I thought, this is going to be awesome. I've watched all the movies about marriage and I've seen all the TV shows. So this is how it's going to be. We're going to wake up, we're going to work out, we're going to go to work, we're going to come home, I'm going to have dinner on the table, and we're going to sit there and eat. And it was not like that. I would still be at work when I got home, and I would be sitting there wait a minute, I feel lonely and I feel sad. And then I would be angry and I would be bitter. And then I would act like I hated his work, or I would take it super personally, wow, he's picking work over me, which is not true. I remember reading about the 5 love languages, and I took the test and I was like, oh, well, it makes sense that mine's quality time. And we're not getting any because you are in love with work more than you're in love with me, which is, don't ever say that. That's such a dumb statement. They're not purposely choosing to not give you the quality time. It's that they really can't, right? I can honestly say at this point in COVID, I've had enough quality time, and I've created an entire new love language. It's called personal space. And that is my new love language as of 2020.
You need to maybe give Gary Chapman a call, because I think he's going to have to put an addendum or something.
From 2002 to 2020, it's been quality time, and I've wanted that, but I'm good. That tank is I have stockpile. There's backup now. So
when you realized, after you maybe read the book, did you first of all, did you make Paige read the book right away too? Or were you let me discover this myself and then share it with my husband? Did you guys do it together?
Honestly, I took the test for him.
That's my wife. She's very type A,
I'm
right?
really embarrassed to say
So,
that. I'm
yeah.
like, shoot, let me find out what Pages is.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is probably what he'd say.
Can't stop.
I can't believe I
You're
just
laughing
admit
because you
that.
know her so well because it's so true. That's her personality.
Thanks, Nova. Thanks for asking that. Like, let's see.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I ever made you take the test. I just assumed that it was words of affirmation, which it is.
Nailed it. Yeah. After living with so
I
many
kind of
years.
took the test out of anger. I'm like, let's find out what his is so I make sure I don't give him his either, you know, but but seriously, no, but I knew, I mean, you know your spouse so well. Physical touch, I think that like for Paige and I, that's like high up there. So I knew that that was something that we both connected on already. So it probably wasn't the one that was the most for us, because I feel like with people's love languages, it's usually the thing that it's going to stretch you. We're good in the physical relations part. We're good to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
After I asked him, I'm like, I could just tell, like, he likes love notes. He likes me to write him cards. He likes me to just affirm him. And so I was right after I took the test for him. And I think I had you take the test too, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to deem this the sturgeon technique. Take the test for your spouse. Guess what they're going to get, and then let them think. Right?
And see how well you know your spouse.
Boom.
Boom. Paige, what happens to you if you feel like you don't receive those words of affirmation? How does that make you feel?
Makes me feel like I'm not appreciated sometimes. You know, if someone's not for me, like I don't even need much. I just need a like, attaboy. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for providing for the family. Thank you for doing the dishes, because she knows I hate doing the dishes. So I'll just do it randomly just because I know that it gives her a little bit of a break, and it's showing her how much I care about her and I appreciate her, because I don't want her to spend, 45 minutes doing the dishes where I could just do it to show her, hey, that's me helping you to show you how much I love you. That's an act of service, right? In the beginning, we really struggled, I think, because communication for guys is way different for women. And so when we dated, I was so driven and ambitious because I own my own business. And I was at the same level when we got married. Yeah, I could come home at 8 o'clock at night. What's the big deal? We did this when we were dating. No, it was totally different. You didn't get married so you can have dinner by yourself, right? And so I was a workaholic. And so I basically had to wean myself back and cut myself back, because the work, it's always going to be there. Tomorrow's the next day. So I had to just let it go and want to spend time with my wife. Yeah. And because I grew up with not a lot. And so I just had this fear, like, I just want to be a provider and I don't want to have to worry about providing for my family. So I was more fear-based than anything. And then as I gave that over to the Lord and prayed about it, our marriage started to get better because of the quality time. We learned later about this. We weren't calling it quality of time, and words of affirmation. But when we read it, it made so much sense. Yeah. Because our communication levels, if I know what makes her tick, and it's like, wow, this big mystery, Pandora's box has just been opened. There could be more harmony in our marriage because now I know what really makes her tick. I grew up in a divorced family where it was very disjointed and dysfunctional, that I knew that when I became married that I want to be present.
I want to be who you choose, the most important thing you choose. Right. I want you to choose God first, and then I want you to choose me second. I don't want you to have to waver between the importance of choosing work over me. I want you to say, I can tell my wife needs 15 extra minutes of my time. It just needs to be something small, like I choose you. We've figured out routines in our life, brought the words of affirmation and the quality time together. At night, we'll sit on the couch and make sure that we're in a position where like I can scratch his back, or, like stuff like that, where it's, I see you and you see me, and I want to take care of this need of yours. And it's nothing like sexual or anything like that. It's just us seeing each other, and that sometimes is the most important thing, is that, like, I see you and I love you and I want to be next to you, and I choose you.
If we were to look at the life of Jesus, all of those ways that we feel love, all really, it comes from him, because of him. We end up operating with all these gifts, hopefully within, our marriage, but there's typically just one that is it. You get better at the other ones too when your number one is filled.
I know what you're saying, Nova. Once you find out your spouse's love language, it's important to not forget the other ones too. It's like, I know Pages are words of affirmation, but also acts of service, that's not a dominant one, but I know that like me doing things like making his breakfast and lunch, thinking about him in advance for things like that affirms him also without me having to say words.
When the Holy Spirit prompts me, I try to listen and I try to obey. I don't try to overthink it. I just say, okay, Holy Spirit, you're right. I need to recognize my wife right now.
But we need to do the dishes more because you've only done them twice.
Holy Spirit's not really talking about that.
Let's talk about the dishes a little more, Holy Spirit.
You are studying each other and what makes your life meaningful and better. And honestly, you are an inspiration, Sonia, because I watch the way, like how you are as a wife. You create an atmosphere in your home, your husband wanting to be there, very welcoming in your home. And I can imagine that feels good for Paige after he's worked this really long, hard day to come home to that.
But lately, like he's been working a lot. So lately I have to be honest, like he'll come home and I will have a scowl on my face.
Are you guys able to talk about it and like kind of break it down?
He'll call me on the way home and he'll be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, eating dinner alone, and I'll start to have that attitude, to be totally honest with you, angry, and I can't get over my own self. And then I'll hang up the phone and I'll be like, why did I do that? The guy just worked 12 hours. He is not saying, I'm totally going to do this to piss Sonia off. Let's rock this. Like I'm going to get her today. That is not what's happening. In those few minutes, I'll just think to myself, calm it down and have a good attitude, because he loves you and it's out of love that he's doing this. And so it's really recognizing that and not allowing it to continue. Once you have those feelings of saying, okay, that is the wrong attitude, and that is now putting pressure on him, who just had all the pressure all day, and your love tank isn't full. But don't forget that you don't have to only depend on that to fill your love tank. If you're only depending on that, that's codependency. That's not a good thing, There needs to be other things that fill your life also, and that's an added bonus, is that every weekend I look forward to it because I get to spend time with him and I love him, and we can't wait for the kids to move out we spend even more time together, But in the times when you're not getting exactly what you need, having anger and resentment and bitterness is not going to drive them to do it more. He's not going to want to spend more quality time with his rude wife that treats him like not nice, treats him like he's doing something wrong all the time.
Paige, when you hear the tone, I'm eating by myself, thanks for calling, I'll see you when you get home, you know that you're coming into that. So Are you mad, or do you go, okay, it's understandable because I worked so long, or how do you prepare? And then what do you do when you approach her?
I just try to not have animosity and try to just have empathy and have compassion. Like, because to be honest with you, I'd rather be with her. I would rather be with my family. I'm so appreciative that she's old fashioned. She spends so much time preparing meals, going to the grocery store, being creative. I love that she makes new stuff all the time and is trying them out. She puts so much effort into it. The house is clean. She pays the bills. She got the kids going everywhere. I mean, her job's 20 times harder than what I do. Just try to tell her how much I appreciate her, how much I love her, but I try not to take it personally and not to throw fuel on the fire, because I could get mad at her and say, why are you acting like, but that doesn't do anything.
So are you guys able to talk it through?
Yeah, and there's times where she brings me in like, hey man, I need you to do this and that. And then I go, you're right. I need to help.
Is she good at asking for what she wants?
Oh yeah, Sonia will tell you. You know exactly. So, but that's what I love about her.
Yeah,
I love her because she's a doer, and she's going to tell you exactly how she feels. And some women aren't. They dance around the whole thing, and it's a mystery, and you got to guess.
Yeah.
So she's going to tell you straight up, and I like that because I'm like that. Just tell me exactly what's up and where you're at, and that's how we can work
But how different would it be, you guys, if when he called, instead of me being like, I'm not getting what I want, what if I answered the phone and said, I can't believe you had to work such a long day. Thank you for being such a good provider, working so hard for our family. I made you dinner. I waited to eat with you. I mean, that is like what I should be doing. So
that is, I love you.
But to be honest with you, your question though, maybe 10 years ago, we would have these fights.
Yeah.
She would be, really angry at me on the phone. And then we get into it because I wouldn't back down. And it was like, well, my job's harder than your job. We get into this whole thing back and forth. And there would just be, where you come home and there's bitterness. You go to bed bitter.
Comparing how you used to be to how you are now, what's the benefit in the change that you've made?
Really allowing God to lead and not being selfish. You cannot be selfish in marriage. You never can be. Like,
Nope.
you cannot be, it's all about me, it's the me show. You can't do that. To really look at the whole picture of the person instead of the bits and pieces that don't make you happy. Paige is a great husband. He does all of these amazing things. So when one thing doesn't go your way, to blow up the farm is the worst thing you can do, because you have to look at the whole picture. I think we had to get through all of that other stuff. We had to have that to get to where we are now. And we can look back and we can say, we never want it to be like that ever again, and to learn how to communicate. I mean, I remember I used to be overwhelmed with the boys. When we have 2 boys, they're almost 16 and almost 14 now, which is crazy. But when they were like 5 and 3, I was like, what is happening? Why do we have kids? Like, they're insane, and they're running around, throwing ketchup on the carpet, spilling red Gatorade. I'm like, what is happening? I would not talk to Paige until the rescue boat needed to be sent out. And at that point, I was like, how can you not tell? Like, how do you not see? It took a lot of practice for me to realize the signs inside of me that say, we're getting on low. We are driving on fumes. You need to tell him. And now I can say, honestly, I try to really reserve those times. I try to not be the complainer and not be the person who cries. Well, I used to call him like 20 times a day. Your kids are crazy. Come home. Can you come home? I'm going to kill them. Like all of this stuff. And now I reserve all of that for when it's real. And I'm like, today was and I say it in a different way now. I'm like, today was a really hard day. When you get home, I need a break. And it's totally different. But if we hadn't gone through all of that bickering and all of that, I don't know. I'm glad we got to resolve it, but I'm really grateful for the communication now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she doesn't like to do anything. Like, she likes to not show like weakness or that she can't handle anything. And so she would burn herself out by trying to do everything on her own, to show that she's independent, she's strong, she can handle it. And then she would get so burnt out, and then there would just be this big old explosion. And she's matured and learned not to just keep it all in until the whole powder cake goes.
When we used to fight like that, with the words of affirmation, it can turn ugly really fast, because with somebody whose love language is words of affirmation, telling them they're doing something wrong, not affirming them, basically a reverse of words of affirmation. And that's how I used to convey it. You're not a good Christian. You are not doing anything right. You're the worst husband ever. You're a bad dad. Didn't realize the damage that could do. So now being able to communicate it in a way that says, you're not doing it wrong. It's hard. We're both doing it wrong. Let's figure it out together. It's a totally different ballgame now because of that.
This is encouraging for people who, maybe married like a couple years and, they're like, this is never going to get better. But it really, a marriage that is being worked on is a growing marriage. And you may not get it right all the time, but you're growing and you're becoming and you're learning. That trust of each other is built over time. It'd be helpful to hear as a young couple going, I'm not going to throw in the towel, because I can see by their life that this takes time. It's not Instagram perfect marriage life. And it takes vulnerability. It takes being honest and asking for forgiveness. Can you guys think of a time where you both were able to go to each other and be like, can you just forgive me?
I mean, I don't have to ask for forgiveness. You can talk about when you needed to ask. I'm just kidding. We didn't grow up in Christian homes at all. And, for me to expect that from him and expect this level of perfection, I had to apologize to him and say, I'm really sorry. I'm so proud of who you are. And, I didn't marry you to change you. I married you so that we could grow together.
Is there any piece of your cultural experience in the world in which you were raised that was driven by perfectionism, and that is what came out?
Growing up, my parents were born and raised in India. They moved here. It was an expectation. I was given 3 career choices. I was given doctor, lawyer, engineer. There's actually 4: doctor, lawyer, engineer, or loser. So those are the four that you could pick out of, right? This is how life is going to be, and all of these different steps. I saw that modeled in my own home. It's just, it has to be good. It has to be perfect. wasn't an allowance of growth or individuality or journey or anything like that. It was more of like a level of perfectionism was expected and control. I'm very driven by that. There's a right way and a wrong way. Do it the right way. I had to really pare that back. I'm still learning how being able to say that is not what I want has been life-changing for our marriage. Our marriage is totally different than any marriage that I witnessed growing up in my culture completely. Seeing each other as not perfect people where we accept each other as that. But we do, like we always talk about like, the fact that we have an awesome marriage. Like if all else hits the skids, like this is the person I want to spend the most time with. It is true that when I throw that attitude, it's because I want to see him. Like if I was like, so glad you're late today because it's been awesome without you. Like it's been the last 3 hours being alone has been the best, you know. I'm saying I missed you because I love you and I want to be with you, you know, and that is a totally different thing that I was raised culturally with.
It's that time in our program that we call homework time.
Homework time.
What practical challenge that would you two offer our listening audience to take as homework?
Oh, I would say is go on a date night, you know, with your significant other and talk about your love languages or take the test or get the book. For guys to sometimes communicate feelings and emotions, but to actually put yourself out there and be vulnerable and to talk about these things. But there's going to be one that sticks out, the majority of. And if you guys can figure out as a couple which one each one of you have and focus on that first, just one thing, and start to realize, okay, what can I do to change my behavior or my attitude or my communication with you in those ways, and just experiment.
My homework with that is don't be afraid to battle it out and communicate exactly how you feel and exactly what you're not getting to your spouse in a way that's not accusatory. You know, like what I find really helpful is I write a journal. Like almost every single day I journal. And if you need to throw up on something like and really vent, write it all out, because then it's like you're not saying all of the, you know, out of the overflow of the heart the mouth speaks. You don't want to say all of that stuff that you're creating, and it can really be detrimental if you say everything that's brewing, you know. Write it all out and then pick and choose the things that are really going to make a difference and an impact, and say them in a way that are going to
so they'll be received in a loving way.
Received. Really think about different ways. If your spouse's love language is acts of service, let's say, it doesn't have to be I vacuumed the house for you, I did your socks for you, I made you breakfast. It's really, you know, thinking about creative ways to do their love language. You know, like even though his is words of affirmation, I can also affirm him by doing little things for him that kind of are kind of acts of service that affirm I see you, you know, and I choose you, and I understand what you're doing is important. You know, like I make sure that I have all his lunches ready for the week. That's an act of service, but it's also saying, I know you're going to be working hard this week. I affirm that, you know, and I'm going to make sure that you don't have to figure out what you're going to eat for yourself. Another thing that I think is really important for young couples to know is a lot of times we're so set in our ways.
Yeah.
And so sure that this is the way we want things. And that's how I was when we first got married. I'm like, this is the way it has to be. You know, it's black or white, you know, I mean, that's my personality. Don't be afraid to like think, I can't believe I'm saying this, but don't be afraid to like have a little gray area and give your spouse room to grow and time to grow, you know, and just grace and patience and, you know, and understanding in that way. It's not everything that they're doing is a personal attack. So really allow yourself to give them grace and grow together, you know. And
I think we all needed to hear that tonight, Sonia, for sure.
Good.
She's always putting other people ahead of herself. She's so altruistic and thinking about others before herself. She's constantly about the kids and me. She's already like 10 steps ahead of me. Like, hey, you know, if we're going to go somewhere, it's like, okay, I got snacks. I got this, we got that, we got that. And she has an itinerary. I come home, the house is clean. I mean, she's just a very honest wife. I'm so blessed. That's the best choice besides my salvation, you know, and accepting Jesus as my Lord and Savior. it's the next best thing that's ever happened in my life was her. So, and it's a gift, and I want to honor and cherish her. I don't tell her all the time that, but I do. I love you and adore you, and I just want to grow old with you. You know what I mean?
Well, we're getting there.
The first reason why we do Marriaging is to inspire couples, marriages all around the world. And second is when we do interviews like this is now that you've said these nice things, potentially tonight could be a good night.
Thank you. Amen. Yes.
All we did, we just teed it up for you guys.
So,
Just teed it up.
Yeah.
We can only do what we can do. The rest is up to.
Because a lot of the things that she would say early in the marriage, she was right, but I had to come to it on my own time and my own way.
Right.
If someone's gonna browbeat you and buffalo you, you're gonna resist it. So at first she was saying, comparing me to all these people, and why didn't you do this? You're a Christian. I married a Christian man. Because I mean, I was chasing on when we got married. Or she was here and I was here when it came to my walk. But that's why I knew I needed to marry her, because I need my game to be lifted up. The game changer was her. She was pushing me closer to God. You know what I mean? But I had to figure it out, like becoming, what does a Christian man look like? That's why I got involved in men's ministry, Ricky, and I got discipleship here. And then I mentored guys because it changed my life.
Yeah.
Because the Holy Spirit became real in my life. And then the sin in my life started to melt away because I became stronger in my faith and my walk. And then once I got to that level, I wanted to share it with other men that there is another way and another path. And that was my heart. So, but it took me time to get there. You know what I mean?
You have to give each other
You
time.
do. You have to
give each other time to grow
Yep.
and grace and just pray for the other person.
So go on a date to discover your singular love language and talk about it. Journal all your thoughts so you can pick and choose the right thoughts to say. Give each other grace and decide that you can do some things different than what your anticipation is. So you have to try things a different way. What's the final cherry on top?
Have lots of sex.
Boom. Nailed it. Nailed it. All we were waiting for.
Yeah, no complaints here.
I mean,
no complaints here.
Listen to what they're saying about that too, because that's a need.
That's
That's the fruit. If you listen and do the love language, that's the fruit. Is you have better intimacy. Right. Guaranteed.
And an apple tree with only one apple is not a very good tree.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
I mean, I feel like you're activating some kind of power right now.
Thank you for coming on tonight. We kind of walked with you in your story. We really love you both, but we really love watching and learning how to marriage through watching the two of you. And we appreciate you guys.
Super appreciate just who you are, but also just your honesty and like transparency and vulnerability so that other people can really learn from you, but then also realize like, hey, you know what? They're telling the truth and they've learned, and it's possible for us too. So I thank you for doing that, because it gives people opportunity to grow themselves and feel encouraged, as opposed to like, why isn't this working? So thank you for being like incredible, both of you, and sharing the way you have.
Thanks for having us. It's awesome that we hang out, you know, and whatnot, but when we get to do this and start talking about like our marriages and our family, and we get a little bit deeper of why we are who we are and why we do the things that we do, it's cool to share with other people, because hopefully that there's some nuggets that can help other marriages. And I know that's where her heart
and
is.
never give up.
I know that's your heart. Yeah, never give up. That's it.
Never give up. I think maybe that's probably one of your points too with the homework. It's like look at each other's eyes and say, I'm never giving up on you.
I mean, it's not even an option.
Right.
It might be really hard sometimes.
And it is.
And you might want to think what is going on, but never give up. It's true.
You got to fight for your marriage.
Right.
You know, and I fight for my marriage every day.
Yep.
Yep. Because that means that much to me. You know, and to God. God's the one that created it. So I don't want to let him down.
Right.
So.
It's not.
I love you. I just love Paige. I love you too, Sonia, but I tell you every day.
Hey, so go marriage together. We hope that Paige and Sonia's story encouraged you, and we believe that you can do it. They believe that you can do it. Don't give up. Keep fighting. Learn each other's love languages, and have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Enjoy the weekend. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July.
Yeah.
Happy 4th of July.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
We